what it's from. I'm an idiot. Like, I'm like, where do you get the title? Everybody wants some.
Their third album came out in the spring of 80.
Was it?
Yeah.
So that, I can't believe that. So Van Halen 1 or 2 were 1970s? Late
78, 9, 80. They went 1, 2, 3. Those first three are, to me, those are my favorites, too.
Oh, yeah, those are the best. I mean, I think I saw them on the first tour.
I saw them opening for Black Sabbath in 78.
Really?
Yeah. They were opening before their first album even came out. It's like, but everyone came out talking about them. I've talked to other people who were on that tour. They see that, who saw that tour. Yeah.
I thought the music was great because 1980 is when this takes place. Mm-hmm. This kid's freshman year of college. It was beginning my senior year, so of high school. Yeah. But again, like not unlike Dazed and Confused, it's all familiar to me because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
You're from Austin. I'm from Albuquerque. It all felt familiar to me. All the cars, you got all the cars right. I was excited to see a gremlin in the parking lot.
A little gremlin, little pacer, zipping around back there somewhere.
And but like it was interesting because I saw it with an entire room full of what I imagine are press. Mm-hmm. But I felt like everybody was rooting for the movie, which is good.
You get a vibe.
Yeah,
sometimes
you do.
They're with you, sometimes they're against you.
Right, but have you ever felt them against you though? Really?
I think early on they were trying to figure out. Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, really?
Not much. In a long time ago.
But like I knew because I had talked to you that it was similar to Dazed and Confused in structure, which means that it wasn't a story necessarily, as it was sort of a kind of movement, a meditation on being a high school freshman in Texas in 1980. But it's weird with college movies, and maybe it was nostalgic on your part, but nothing got out of hand.
It was right on the verge of it.
Right.
There's a little fight in a disco and they get kicked out, but it's not like punches don't get thrown. That's like a bar fight. Everybody pushes each other around. Yeah. It's like, that's like every bar fight you've ever been around usually. I thought that was the difference between college and high school. Like high school, you're sort of like being in prison. No one really wants to be there, and you're stuck in your parents' house. You're stuck in that world, and it's not by choice.
Right.
You're there, so there's a lot of tension, a lot of aggravation, all that oppression, and so people are kind of bumping up against each other and expressing that kind of aggression or that behavior. It comes out in different ways. College, because it's just not about freedom. College to me was the metaphor there was, it's freedom.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you can stay out all night.
Yeah.
Your parents aren't telling you to turn down your stereo or get up.
Right.
If you want to just drink and eat whatever you want and not go to class or, whatever those adult decisions, suddenly the exhilaration of having all that freedom thrust on you was fun.
Right.
So it created a more friction-free environment. Because it's like, well, you're there by choice. You don't like college, you don't like being here, quit. Go get a job.
Right, and and you were real good about, like, all the characters sort of define themselves pretty quickly. And these are alpha dudes. Yeah. There's a baseball team. This was sort of, I certainly didn't, you were a ball player.
Yeah, they're all competitive. That's the tone. They're just competitive
with everything.
About the dumbest shit.
And also they're always amped up and moving.
Yeah, a lot of movement. Yeah. They never really sit down much.
Right, and they're just like doing shit.
Or if they sit down, it's for bong hits or to drink, But
right, or play that knuckles game or just, somehow beat the shit out of each other one way or the other.
Yeah.
But, like, those were the guys when I was younger, like, who I would have thought of as the other team. Like, not the enemy, but just the jocks. And somehow or another, because of certain pivotal personalities in the film, you were able to sort of balance them out somehow. That you found the humanity of people I would have prejudged, probably.
Well, yeah, and I think the film kind of begs you to do that at the very beginning. You're seeing it through Jake's eyes. He's the freshman who's the new guy.
Yep.
And so they are kind of jerks. They sort of, like, who are you? Oh, they basically give him nothing.
Right.
Even though they're soon, they're living in the same house. But within minutes, they're inviting him. Hey, we're going drinking. There's a happy hour at this bar.
Right. The team element, actually, and also the seriousness of having a good team and what it means kind of overrode the sort of personality difficulties.
It is finding your place within a team structure. And that's, to me, also what the movie's really about. It's like every guy there was kind of the star of their high school team.
Right.
Now they're coming in like, I got to find, you go from being an alpha to being you don't know what.
Right,
it's like, I got to fit in here and be a teammate. But to have a good team, you have to play your role, and everybody knows that, but you want to assert yourself. So baseball, it kind of team and individual are kind of battling each other. But people say, oh, it's a big party film. It's like, yeah, but within that party, you see the little competitiveness, the way they talk. They're actually preparing themselves to be a good team, to win. They want to win a national championship this year.
And also, it was very philosophical because, like, I didn't feel like it was a party movie. It was like the sort of thrust of it wasn't a story, but of the movie is pussy.
Yeah,
and
chase and tail.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, those guys
they're 18 to 22-year-old males. Yeah.
Sure, but I was surprised also that, you know, once you establish the characters, you know, you had the hyper alpha who was really good at, you know, everything, right? There were, you know, he could split baseballs with a hatchet and whatnot, with an axe. And then you had the other guy who was, you know, really, you know, a good-looking guy and cocky, but philosophical.
Smart, quick.
Yeah.
Quick and smart.
And then you had the weird, wiry guy with the handlebar mustache who was just kind of freaky, but interesting.
Pitcher, yeah.
A pitcher, yeah.
They're all a little crazy.
It was odd because all these type of movies are going to fall under, you know, there's a moment there where you're like, is this Animal House or is it a genre picture? But it didn't do that. And I don't know how you pulled that off, really, because the film got applause last night from a press audience, dude.
That's pretty good.
It got applause.
I take that as a positive sign.
And when I heard the applause, I'm like, they're all over 50.
Yeah, they were there. They were there. But, you know, I just think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like, why is there not? I think college, it was just chill. Like high school, everybody had something to prove. Remember college, people, it was, and especially the time, it's the end of the 70s,
right.
You know. Everything was chill. You were just trying to be cooler than everybody. And being cool means not losing your shit, not starting stupid fights and not being aggressive. It's like, hey, you know, you went out with my girlfriend. Hey, it's cool.
I guess
that's
true.
And there was a little bit of that in the air. It was really, I mean, guys, you know, everybody's always, we don't change that much, but it was kind of uncool to be an aggressive jerk, as I remember.
Well, I think that's right, because I didn't
even have issues like the black guy at the country bar.
Right.
He doesn't have any problem going in there because, hey, he's a known athlete on campus. No one's going to mess with him. He's got his boys with him. And it's just not an issue. People go, oh, there's one black guy on the team. Nothing happened. It's like, no, we had a couple brothers on the team. It was never. Yeah. We were teammates first. And there weren't these issues, you know.
Right. Well, I didn't think about it until you mentioned it now that, you know, high school is really where the violence happens in a way.
Yeah.
If you made it to college, you did have, even if you were set in your ways like some of these guys were, you knew that you may be on the baseball team, but there was a whole world of people at this place that were different than you, and there was no way to not acknowledge that. Whereas in high school, you know, if you were the baseball team, you were the top of the pyramid.
Yeah,
and you could fuck with
football
people.
You're set up to be the bully, or the one who never gets picked on or challenged.
Right.
Yeah, but college, just by the assortment of majors, and you just know you can't think you're the whole world.
Right.
You know, you meet so many people who are studying other things, and you can't help but know there's a big other world that doesn't care that. I mean, sure, there's this kind of psychopathic emphasis on sports,
right?
You know,
sure.
in our country, but so it might be about football or basketball or a little baseball's third in that list, at best, but your world definitely opens up, and that's the whole point of going to college, right? You meet a lot of people, and you absorb their taste, what they're interested in, all those crazy teachers. So it's a good time.
And you've got that the singing in the car montage,
an extended Rapper's Delight sequence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was great.
There was a question of how long that should be in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's early in the movie. They're going from their house to the bar where they're having a happy hour. So it's just A to Z, you know, point A to point B.
You did almost the whole song, I think.
And no, because that song's like 13 minutes. So I told the cast, you got to know the whole song because we're going to do this. Because that really happened to me. I remember I was in a car and a guy I played ball with named Julio was in the front seat, and he goes, I am Julio. You'd put in your own name, that notion of passing the mic.
Sure.
The other, if you knew the song.
Sure.
And it was like you'd insert your own name or your own kind of.
And that was new stuff to people too, like rap music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The movie's trying to take you back to a time and say, well, this was what it felt like. You know, you can say whatever you will about that song or how it's aged, and people kind of make fun of it. Or it's been parodied a little bit. That and say My Sharon and stuff. But it's like, no, this is original intent, original use, like what it felt like to be in that car. Before it was even called hip hop, it's like, oh, that's rap music. It's something kind of from New York City, you know, from the Bronx or Brooklyn or wherever it's coming from. But you're kind of like, oh, and it has those beats. It's almost like disco. It starts off, and it's like, okay, you can kind of dance to it.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, well, what's new here? It's like, oh, the ear, what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I mean, that's fun.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like the excitement of being around something so new, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And also the punk and the new wave music. So I look back at it as a time. It's like, well, you know, that was a pretty interesting time. You know, there was like new stuff happening. I don't know if that's happening today. The genres get refined, but I don't know if there's new things coming in, you know. Punk.
Well, there is, but there's a lot more. They're not as there's more of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when like that stuff came out, you know, it was like any media. It was a little more intimate. There was less stuff. So now there's just tons of shit.
It's like techno. I mean, there's so much stuff.
And so much stuff within that stuff.
But what's interesting at that moment in 1980 is all that stuff was selling really well. The country, I mean, the music industry is very different. You know, just some average band was selling, 3 million albums. You look at the industry, very different.
Well, I love that guy's Jake's box of records because I'm looking at the details. And I see the record crate, and I see more songs about buildings and food, and I see Devo.
I started off, I had like 200 and something songs.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's a combination of financial or just what worked. There was a lot of reasons that I end up here, but it's kind of random.
Cars?
There could have been, end with a Cars song.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. What was that? That was 80, 79?
79, 80, yeah.
That was a big record, that first Cards record. You were like, what the fuck is happening? And the Knack, too. You open with the Knack, you close with the Cars. Because there were some people that were mad about the Knack, because it's like new wave, it's not really punk. And,
they weren't really punk, or they were too successful, too. Their album, I think they made a mistake, because it looked like Meet the Beatles. They mirrored the exact poses.
Sure.
And people were a little cynical about them or something.
It's a hell of a song, though.
But, and that album, actually, I think the Knack is really underrated because, I mean, I think they're the best teen sex angst band ever. They were very in tune with this movie because what's on a young person's mind. You know?
A lot of sex right out of the gate. I was not getting that much sex in college. It seemed like...
sorry.
About 4 or 5 of the dudes got laid that first day of school.
It would happen. What can I say?
Oh,
this
Texas.
is the dirty secret. You know, and there was a kind of young woman who just liked the way we looked in our baseball uniforms. What can I say?
Is that true? That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a big deal.
When they talk about men objectifying women, any athlete can kind of flip that and go, you weren't even looking at my face. You're looking at my body, whatever that athletic. So I was like, you just kind of go with it.
And the one dude in the mirror with his butt, that was funny.
Yeah, a lot of primping. Because that was the early, like, metrosexual. I think it's something like women's lib and, the hairdryer entered the men's locker room at some point in the 70s. Perms and
platform shoes.
Yeah, it was okay to kind of primp, guys.
Oh, dude, it was crazy.
They started caring about what they looked like.
Oh, dude, my buddy Dave Bishop, he had a perm. He had straight blonde hair, and you'd get a perm, and one day he'd show up with his perm, and he didn't really say nothing about it. Famolari shoes, like these 3-inch platform shoes.
You're like, dude, what the hell? But it was okay to put an effort out for the first time.
It was real. Britannia jeans and all that shit.
Yeah, tight. My cast was going like, well, you guys really wore these.
Right.
I'm like, it's just, that's all there was. It was
you
some
really
tight
did.
stuff.
I don't know if I ever felt comfortable in the tight pants. But it was the way it was.
It was just the way. I didn't mind tight stuff on all the ladies.
No, of course not.
No, I didn't.
But I like the movement towards this art party, which becomes this sort of like fantastic sort of event. Because like the way you shot it, it wasn't just a party. It was a kind of weird, mind-blowing sort of
mind expanding.
Right, the mind as an audience member, you kind of felt like, oh, this is really kind of out there, and probably a little too well produced in a way for the effect of it.
But that's how it was.
That's how it felt, right?
It was this place. It was all performing arts majors, mostly actors, dancers, the really super cool kids. And I'd met this actress, and we were going out, and it was like a whole new world opened up. Our idea of decorating the house was like thumbtacking up a Susan Anton poster.
Right.
But you go out to their parties, and they had like special lighting and a guy controlling it from the attic.
Yeah.
And special, it was just really well production designed.
And it was a costume party.
Cool. Yeah, their costumes, all these people who were kind of expressing themselves through their costumes and their art and everything. And that's new. When you're an athlete, you don't have to do any of that.
Right.
You don't have to peacock or do anything because that's your expression. It's a performing art, but the sport is the thing. So yeah, you get around people like, oh, they're kind of artists of living. Everything they do is art-like, the way they decorate and the way they dress, and then they're performing theater, dance, And
I love the way
wow, cool people. These are my new friends.
Right.
I found them. I found that crowd.
Well, Jake was the conduit to that because there's that moment where the other guys are clear that he doesn't want them to come, and then eventually they do this thing.
Felt a little awkward.
Right.
His world's clashing.
Right. And he didn't know what he was getting into either. But all the guys come, and then you subvert the expectations again because I left going like, not one of those guys started shit. Not one of those guys bullied one of those art dudes, and they didn't. And not only did they not, they were sort of, humbled by it.
Yeah, they're just smart enough. I think all the bullying stuff. I think that falls on football a little bit.
I'm just starting to realize that.
Guys
I talk
see
to
football.
You.
Baseball guys, little different. You just don't hear about the bad entitled sports stuff so much from baseball.
Right.
A lot of those guys are actually really, 4.0 students, and it's a huge generalization, I guess.
There's a zen to baseball too.
Yeah, it's more of a thinking person's. Not that any sport can be, but it lends itself, the pace of it, the way guys. It's an ongoing conversation.
Sure.
Even in the game, you can be in the middle of a baseball game and talking to a guy sitting next to you. You can't do that in football and basketball.
You can talk to people on the field.
It's too intense.
Through an inning.
Yeah, you get on first base, you might talk to the guy on the other team.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of time, and it relaxes you. It actually makes you better. Where in football, no. They talk about your mama. They want to kill you.
Right.
You don't have any room, and on the bench, you got to be kind of jacked up, or someone will kill you. I mean, you could die today.
Right.
Baseball, you don't go into a game like that. It's much more leisure, and there's only a couple coaches, and they're often far away, so you can have this kind of It lends itself to wit and humor. And some of the funniest guys I was ever around in my whole life were some of these players, and they didn't have any comic aspirations. They thought that they could make a living writing jokes. Never crossed their mind, but they were just really funny guys, just situationally.
Yeah, and I thought you took a lot of time, and it was I was very excited to see that you played some baseball. I mean,
we deliver one little scene on the baseball field,
but it's nice. You really get a sense of it.
A little bit of a payoff.
It is.
You get to kind of realize, that's who they are. You understand the pecking order, a little bit.
And this movie for you, did you find it was about that realization that there's a bigger world out there and about who you are? Because some of these guys are pretty set. They're on a pro track if possible, but they knew that was a long shot and whatever on some level. But your main character Jake is in the end, towards the end, where he's talking to her about his essay about Sisyphus and whatnot. You realize he's got some other interests. He's kind of open-minded. That this is about identity, about sense of self.
Yeah, he's asking those kind of questions. So you see him at the early stages of kind of questioning who he is, and it's that responsibility of who do you want to be?
Yeah.
Where's your spirit taking you?
Yeah.
I mean, it says a lot that he wants to hang out with the cool girl who's not the groupie who likes him in there. He's kind of he's drawn to her for some reason.
She got something else going on.
Yeah, he bonds with Finn, the smartest guy on the team.
Right.
They have a shorthand of wit. They get each other's extra little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is sometimes in those group environments. There's 2 or 3 guys on the team who you make a joke, some reference that 2 guys pick up on.
Right.
But that's the best kind of humor.
Sure.
Because you look and no one else even got that joke.
Yeah. And there's a little hazing goes on. That was kind of funny. I love the way the country dude just was I don't need that magic shit. You're not going to even play along with getting set up.
How about that? Very simple.
What did you feel when you actually finished cutting this and you watched it with an audience? I mean, because not unlike Dazed and Confused, for me, it felt very personal. Because I grew up then, and because it all seemed very familiar to me.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way when you watch it?
Yeah. Oh, it just feels. It's so fun to hang out with the guys. I mean, I have the personal relation of making the movie with this, wonderful young cast, so I can experience it on that level.
Yeah.
But then also part of my brain, and I think my impulse to make the movie, is I'm getting to really deal with those college years, what that meant. Just that little sliver of time all these years later. What does that mean? It's an interesting transitional point in your life, developmentally, so I could kind of, work through that. And I realized I had a lot less mixed feelings about college than I did high school for reasons we've already discussed. It's like, oh, and it's the first point in my adult life. I think I go, okay, that was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
I go, I buy it. I'm buying in.
Yeah.
That was a good time. And comparatively, I've got a daughter who just got out of college. It was fun. College was so cheap. It was a good, it was cheap. The stakes were low. You didn't mortgage your future just to get a secondary education,
Were you there on a scholarship?
Yeah. I mean, school was so cheap, and we had a scholarship anyway, so school was really cheap.
Right.
You could take I had financial aid because, didn't have much money in the family, so it's like I had a scholarship and free money on top of it.
Right.
I had a Pell Grant.
Yeah.
So it was like nice. Yeah. I felt like I was living large, man. I could buy the music, whatever, go to the concert, So it was nice. So I think it was kind of in that point in time was to kind of pre-Reagan era, pre-AIDS, pre-Reagan era, pre-just say no. It got tougher to be a young person.
Yeah.
I think on a couple of, both like legally, they kind of upping drinking ages.
Right.
Making you.
Right.
Made it illegal for young people to be in a car together. Like, you can only have one teenager and, curfews. And
sure.
Just they kind of went after youthful fun in the 80s kind of backlash.
Yeah.
And then also you had the parenting change too. So young people, we were left alone as kids, but now you had parents here and the government kind of taking away your rights. So I don't know.
It was right before all that.
Yeah. This is kind of, I look back and go, that's the culture's transitioning.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you're going to have Ronnie and Nancy saying, just say no. And, abstinence only education is the only way to go.
And there was no internet?
Shame, guilt. Yeah, it was very social. Like today, the guys riding around singing to a song, they might have music going, but there's one guy driving and four guys looking at their smartphone, texting somebody.
Right. And in this, they're just looking out the window and looking at each other.
You're filling that time with something.
It all made sense to me. And now as I talk to you, I realize how much baggage in terms of fear and judgment and, looking through current times that you bring to this thing and wonder about it. And then you realize, as I'm talking to you that, the point you made before about the changing of the culture was it was actually genuinely a more innocent time. And you don't necessarily think of, post 70s America being innocent, but in terms of how shit was going to be guided and come down and,
comparatively, even though we had hostages in Iran at the time, there wasn't a war on the horizon. The Vietnam hangover dudes were like
still around.
No one was getting drafted.
Right.
I mean, we were the country wasn't going to be invading anymore anytime soon.
Right.
That sort of started shifting in the 80s. So it was a nice little lull.
Right.
I mean, people weren't really happy with Carter and the economy. And there was a lot of strife. But when you're a kid, you don't care what the inflation rate is when you're 18 years old. Does it affect your life? No.
And and a lot of stuff was just sort of starting about, around, the dialogue on college campuses and, about, gender and other things like that, that it hadn't really picked up speed. And there was a sort of like, things were okay. These guys were having a good time.
Yeah, well, they thought weed would be legal any second. Remember, it was going to be that was coming, so that everything went the other direction. I mean, there's a lot of progress, obviously. It's something like, gay civil rights. That's huge advance from this time. Yeah. And other areas, too, progress. But then there's that cultural backlash, too.
Yeah.
I think Reagan brought more overt racism kind of back to the fore, where that was kind of a notion. You thought, that was going to be a thing in the past. Our generation's just too cool. We don't think that way. That's for old fogies.
Yeah.
But the old fogies kind of took back over,
Yeah, they do that sometimes.
They did.
You also come to the film with a lot of those kind of like, with those movie expectations, like I said earlier, of that type of film, of a college movie, of a party movie. And it really isn't that, because it goes much deeper. So there's a lot of these weird expectations that get turned in on themselves because you don't go for the joke, you go for the humanity of it, which is a lot better.
Well, I think I'm happy when people kind of pick up on that, because we've seen this genre done to death. You know, there's the humor and the certain kind of humor, but I think if you can mix that with something that feels real to someone's own life, maybe that that could potentially resonate. But I don't know what the expectations are. It's
in your mind.
Yeah.
Like when you see it, when you're sitting down for a movie like that, and you're like college students, 2 empty houses.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Animal House was looming. Even as we lived in those houses, we were very aware, like, this is our Animal House.
It happened.
We'd all seen the movie numerous times, and now we had our own houses, so it couldn't help. We had these crazy parties, probably.
Oh, that's right.
We never had a toga party, but it was kind of like that.
It was out already, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it had come out a couple years, a little before.
Right.
So the influence was pretty immediate.
Right.
In the culture. So we were. I just say the DNA of Animal House is here because it was a big thing.
I hadn't thought about that.
Even if you think about the sophisticated humor that Finn's doing, trying to be, he's a little like Tim Matheson.
Right.
There was that pitch. It was
That's
little bit. Maybe there. There's that. There's
sure.
Plumber's probably.
Right.
Bluto.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No.
It can't help but. So these archetypes are floating around.
They were really there because they had seen the film, and also I liked all the attention paid to to bongs, and to kegs, and to making Everclear punch or whatever punch that was.
It's called different things. Trash can punch. We called it coondog punch. One guy on the team,
but like that was definitely a part of like how are you going to drink beer faster. All that stuff was real
these
stuff.
These are important things at that.
All right, I guess you got to run, but it's always great talking to you. And I really enjoyed the movie. It was heartwarming, it was fun, and it was nostalgic for me, but also kind of revelatory. Right. And you did a great job.
Wonderful. Well, it's great talking to you always. Thanks for having me back.
So that was fun. That was a good conversation. I like talking to that guy. You pick up speed, and he's very thoughtful, and he's nice, and he makes he's like a fucking auteur. He's the real deal. And he brought me a Thin Lizzy record. Okay. Folks, trips to the post office are never convenient, so why not get postage right from your desk with Stamps.com? Stamps.com even gives you special postage discounts you can't get at the post office, including first class, priority mail, express, international, and more. You'll never pay full price for postage again. Here's how Stamps.com works, people. Use your own computer to buy official U.S. postage for any letter or package. Use your printer to print it out. Then just hand your mail to your mail carrier or drop it in a mailbox. It's that easy. No wonder over 600,000 small businesses are already using Stamps.com. It's only $15.99 a month. No long-term multi-year commitments, no postage meters to rent, and no markups on postage. I can't remember not using Stamps.com at this point. Right now, use my promo code WTF to start a no-risk trial, plus get a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. Sam Rockwell has had an amazing career. He's been in a lot of things, some great things. He's one of those guys you see and you just love seeing him. That's really the truth of the matter. Like Matchstick Men was great. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was great. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. He was great in that. Choke. He was fun in Choke. Moon. That movie that David Bowie's son did is an astoundingly great movie. He's just one of those guys. He was in Laggies with Lynn Shelton, my friend, directed that. Anyway, Sam Rockwell, he's one of the most recognizable and interesting character actors working today, and I was happy that he came over, and this is me talking to him. We got a hard out.
First of all, thanks for watching the movie, by the way. It's very nice of you to...
You never know with those things. And I didn't know with that one for a little while. It was, there's it's a romantic comedy.
Yeah, it aims to be, Grosse Point Blank or something.
But it's funny, because I haven't watched those kind of things. It's like a romantic comedy set against ultra-violent slapstick.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're like, well, this is cute. And they're like, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, my aim was always Grosse Point Blank. That was my...
Right, this sort of dark, satirical, funny, Well, I think
that's a very special movie.
Right, with Cusack, right?
Yeah. Minnie Driver, that's a great movie.
Your dynamic with Anna Kendrick was great, and that's really what drives those kind of movies.
Nice, yeah.
Where, it's cute, it's funny, you both seem to have some genuine moments amidst all the chaos and the crazy plot.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see, Tim Roth being weird.
Yeah. He's great. Tim's great, man. He's awesome. And Anna's great. She's really, really.
When you get a script
really
like
funny,
that,
really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the decision process? Because you seem to be a guy that kind of chooses your shit.
I try to choose well. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It was a chance to be like an action dude, which I don't get to do, And I'd done some fight scenes in films, but
right.
This was a chance to do that stuff.
For real.
And yeah, it was fun for me,
Yeah.
We didn't have the budget. We had to choreograph a lot of these fights.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time,
Oh, really?
Like you normally have months for this kind of thing if you were doing a Mission Impossible. But those fights are really fun. If you're like, I'm sort of a wannabe dancer, and so that's kind of what those fights are like. And
you do like to dance, huh?
Yeah, so I think that's what it's like to do those kind of fight scenes. It's like dance choreography.
Didn't you do a musical? You've done a musical.
I've never done a musical.
Oh, you didn't?
I mean, I'm not like a singer like Anna is.
But like
you sing?
I sing, but privately. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, me too.
I do a lot of private singing. Good stuff too.
Yeah,
like you're powerful.
In the shower, in the bathtub.
Yeah, in my living room, occasionally in the car. I can really nail it sometimes.
Sure.
Are you afraid to sing in public?
No, I'd sing in public. I can croon.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
I wouldn't be like. I wouldn't say I'm like Les Miserables type singer.
But that's what's great about musicals. You do a gig, man. Get a musical, and it's the vulnerability of it. It's like you don't have to be a good singer. You have to be like, Sam Rockwell singing. It's nice.
I would do that. I would do Guys and Dolls or something like that.
You should.
That'd
Come on. Yeah. Where'd you come from?
I came from San Francisco. I like this area, by the way. I was at that Cafe Della.
Oh yeah, De Leche, Cafe De Leche.
Austin or something.
A little bit. It's starting to turn that way. I've watched it happen. When I moved here, it wasn't there. Not any of it.
I like that shit.
I do too.
I like hipster shit. I like Williamsburg. People make fun of beards, and I like that stuff because I don't know. They have good coffee and good food.
Yeah, good coffee, good food, and there's a creative spirit in the air with how people organize their shops. You're not sure what the point of them is, but you're happy for the effort.
Yeah.
When you walk in, you're like, all right, you got a few records and a hat.
Yeah, it's like nice bohemia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
San Francisco though has a whole different that place. I lived there for a couple of years, and I never knew what the fuck was going on there ever.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not all rice-a-roni and cable cars. I mean, it's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
there's ghettos and there's nice neighbors, there's rich people, poor people.
There's a creative chaos and a sort of identity chaos that goes on there. Like I never knew who was in charge or what was happening or why that guy is like that. A lot of questions.
Yeah.
So you born in San Francisco?
I was born there, and then I went to New York. My parents separated when I was 5. We lived in the Bronx.
But let's talk about San Francisco.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
I kind of went back and forth, but San Francisco.
What part of town?
Everywhere, man.
In San Francisco?
Yeah, in proper. Like I went to school, AP Giannini and McAteer, and Aisha Tyler and Margaret Cho went to McAteer, and we were in sort of a school.
Really? You're all together?
Yeah,
when
we
you're
were
like
School
15?
of the Arts.
Really?
But it was like a. Can you say fuck? Can you say fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a fuck. It was like a watered down. It was like a low budget fame.
Right. But you knew you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were actors, so I got into it early, and I kind of took it for granted. And then
They were actors, like working actors?
Yeah. And then my dad dropped out of that, and he became a union organizer. And he was in the printing union. He was a cab driver. He did a bunch of jobs, yeah. But he became a big union guy.
After acting. So, what kind of...
Yeah, like a union rep for the supermarket clerks. And, I couldn't cross picket lines. We met Harvey Milk when I was like 8. We lived in the Castro. We lived in the Haight-Ashbury. We lived in Park Merced.
Do you remember meeting Harvey Milk?
We lived in the Tenderloin, which is,
Yeah, that's a rough few blocks.
That was before my dad got a good job, and,
Oh, really?
That was a tough... Yeah, we moved around a lot, San Diego and...
But San Francisco's got a heavy vibe to it. Like, the weather never changes a lot, and it's always sort of cloudy, sometimes with that moving fog. I always felt that there was a mystical element that was a little bigger than me and kind of dark.
Kind of Jack London darkness.
Yeah, did you feel that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved it. I know what you're saying. And when we were in high school, we'd always pray for sun, but, now when I go back, I'm like, man, I wish it was always like this everywhere.
Yeah, nice and cool.
It's
Temperature's
clean air.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's great.
Go up to Point Reyes and just sit there.
Yeah.
You ever just go up north a little bit to Bolinas and shit and walk around?
No, I never been up there. I feel like I've been up north, but...
Well, like Pass Marin, and it's just
Marin
those
County.
Those little beach areas. I used to go hiking up in Point Reyes and wander around.
What's the other, Stinson?
Yeah,
Beach?
Stinson Beach. Yeah,
I was there.
Half Moon Bay.
Half Moon Bay. Yeah, sure. We used to drive down there. We used to live right by Ocean Beach, actually. We used to live right by the beach.
So when you were a kid, though, did you see your dad act?
In fact, I remember going to Ocean Beach when John Lennon died.
Really?
And kind of having a
moment
of like silence or something.
How old were you, like 12?
Yeah, probably, as a kid.
Yeah, I remember when he died. That was horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what year that was. I remember when he died. I remember when Belushi died. Belushi was, for some reason, pretty devastating for me, too.
Did you have Phil Hoffman on this podcast?
No, who did I just talk to that worked with Phil? People have talked about Phil. Ethan Hawke was just in here.
Oh, that's right. I heard. Yeah.
I would have liked to have Phil. I imagine it might have happened at some point, but it didn't get to happen.
Yeah.
He was a friend of yours, right?
Yeah. It's weird when you start knowing people who are like Gary, who are
they die.
dying. Yeah, it's fucked up, man.
A few people on the show, because I have to put them back up, out of respect and in memory of, and people as you get older, dude.
I know
it's gonna happen, man.
It's really weird, man.
I try not to think about it. I don't, where are you at with your mortality consciousness?
I'm not good. I think about it every day, man.
You do?
Oh yeah, sure, man.
Like this is it, or
I'm 47. I'm like, yeah, I just think about all that shit, and prostates and all that kind of shit.
Well, you got to get that checked. You're not one of those guys that's sort of like, I ain't doing that.
No, I get it checked.
Oh, good.
I'm clean.
Good.
But it's intense.
Isn't it weird that so many guys get sick because they're too proud to have a fucking clinical person stick a finger in their ass? I mean, grow the fuck up.
I think it's a denial.
Sure it is. It does feel good, but in that moment, like, well, I don't want to commit to this.
Yeah. No, it's a lot, man.
It is, sure. But let's go back to, did you ever see your dad work as an actor?
I didn't. I saw my mom work. I actually worked with my mom on stage when I was a kid, when I was 10.
In New York?
But my dad quit before I ever saw him act.
So, but that didn't temper your desire to do it, like, because he probably was like, fuck this. Was it that kind of quitting?
He had to raise me. I mean, he was a single parent.
Are you an only child?
I'm an only child, and then he got remarried when I was like 8.
Yeah.
And then that we had kind of more of a middle class.
Yeah.
And I was sort of a latchkey kid,
Back and forth?
But that was more kind of
New York and L.A.?
Yeah, I'd go in the summer to visit my mom, and I'd hang out with her and her crazy bohemian friends. She was singing telegrams.
Oh, really?
And then I went to this high school, but it was like 500 School of the Arts people within 2,000 city kids.
In San Francisco.
So it was like, so we had rich kids coming to do the School of the Arts, and then we also had kids from Hunters Point and kids from the Mission.
Integrated.
And it was very integrated, very eclectic in how much money people had, and the football team was probably more popular than the acting group.
Always, yeah.
So it wasn't really like a proper School of the Arts,
right? But I mean, but at least it gave you the option to sort of work those muscles and have that creativity.
It did, and I took it for granted. I smoked pot and chased girls, and then when I went to New York, I studied with William Esper, and that's where I met my acting coach Terry Knickerbocker, and that's where things got more like serious. For
the acting.
Yeah, like I was kind of fucking around until I was like 24.
Were you doing shows or were you doing plays?
I took it for granted because it was the family business in
San Francisco.
Yeah, And
where were you performing?
As far as
were you doing shows? Like
when I was in high school, you mean?
Or in your early 20s before you went to New York.
I was just doing restaurant jobs, busting tables, and once in a while I'd like book a commercial. I got an agent. I'd get these like
local commercials,
like national commercials.
Oh yeah,
it would be like winning the lottery.
Sure. Which ones did you do?
I did everything. I did Ford Tractor,
Ford
American
Tractor?
Express.
Yeah.
I played a drug dealer. I did every Burger King.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like tons of commercials.
So you have residual checks coming in, so you're making money.
Yeah. So I'd be like a bar back, and then all of a sudden this check would come in, and I could pay the rent for 3 months.
Beautiful.
It was great. It was great. It was the best. And then as you get you get more notoriety in film, you can't obviously. I mean, you can now. It's all changing. Do commercials, but now everything. But
you could do it anonymously.
All bets are off now.
Yeah, no one knew you. You're just a guy working for a living. I guess there's no shame in it, but some guys, as you get older and your name, you got to be more decisive about what you're going to be putting your face on.
Yeah.
So back then, your training was really just what you did in high school and performing. So it was sort of like chaotic.
And my mother teaching me about sort of the rules of improvisation, and
she was an improviser.
She was in a troupe, and that was the play we did. It was sort of based on these sketches
in New York.
In New York, it was called Joan Crawford's Children. And it was kind of like Mommy Dearest.
Yeah.
There was a guy playing Joan Crawford, and my mother was like a sort of a female Dr. Strangelove character. She was the nurse to the kids. It was very strange, but it was very strange. But I learned about improv a little bit, and then I studied Meisner as an adult.
Meisner, is that where you look at each other and repeat things?
Yeah, which is also improv based.
Yeah, because I've done it. You just go like sad.
Did you do repetition? You did some of that?
No, but I know guys that did it, and I'd ask people like, what was that like? And they'd be like, and they'd show me how it was done.
You know what it's like? It's really like this. It's like being in the moment,
right?
And trying to put your attention on something else,
right?
And then you got to be still, and you're kind of naked,
right? Like how do you mean? Like if it's me and you right now, like well,
I say I'd start off with something superficial, like that's a green shirt, and you go, yeah, that's a green shirt, and I go, that's a green shirt, and then eventually it might change. You'd be like, you seem kind of perturbed about my green shirt or something. And then so you start to read behavior.
So you feel the shift. Someone decides that there's a shift. Is there a rule to it? Like you have to stay on the object for like a minute? Or
the shift was always a strange thing. Like we never knew when to make the shift, and sometimes the teacher would be like, "No, don't stay with it. Stay with this."
Yeah, he's about to cry. Stay with the shirt.
Stay with the shirt. But then you'd have to change it. It has to be where you have to address what's going on.
And what'd you learn from that?
Well, I learned because first there's like these nervous giggles,
yeah,
and then you start, maybe somebody gets angry or somebody starts crying, and
right.
So all this is sort of to strip you down so that you just be,
right,
and that's what we need in acting, is just to kind of fucking be,
right,
and stop acting,
right,
yeah, and that's the thing I hate when people say actors are good liars. I think actually no, if they're trained well, they're supposed to be. That's the best. That's the time when they really tell the truth.
Right. Well, see, I think a lot of people and some actors do this too. If they don't say that they're good liars, they say we're good at pretending, which is a little different, but still that's demeaning to the craft of acting. But I think a lot of people don't necessarily have a craft in place, and they're just getting away with it because of natural gifts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's something to be taken seriously if you want to. But it's also master it like a Robert Duvall or a Meryl Streep or whoever,
Right, but there are people that are just sort of like, I can do it, and they just show up and they do it, and you're like, oh, fuck that guy, and no one knows for the wiser. But then when you see somebody like yourself or Duvall or young actors who take it seriously and they really fucking lock in, you're like, no, there's something different there.
Yeah,
That's what you hope.
Yeah, when you see a really great, when you see Benicio or somebody like that.
Man, did you watch Sicario?
Oh, fucking, he was incredible.
What the hell is that? What?
That's great, man.
Are you guys buddies?
I know him a little bit. He's a nice guy. He's actually a very sweet guy, very funny. But yeah, I mean that's like what he does. That's his zone.
But but what you're talking about, I see what you do too in a lot of the movies I've seen you in. I haven't seen all of them because you're one of those guys where I look at the goddamn resume and I'm like, holy fuck, am I going to be up all night watching?
yeah.
But there's a presence, is what you're talking about. It is an ability to be present and emotional and open. Like someone once told me that. They were talking to Gene Hackman, I think, and how he prepared, and he just basically said, I think he said something like, "I know how to fill up." Like like before he went on, he could just pull himself.
I know how to fill up.
Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, I worked with him, and he would just kind of keep to himself, and all of a sudden he'd be like, "Bang!"
Yeah, you did.
What movie? We did this David Mamet movie called Heist.
Oh yeah.
And I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, just watching him.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Sometimes the camera department. I'm very accommodating.
Yeah,
me, Sam.
Naturally.
I'm like a people pleaser kind of guy. Years of therapy has helped me.
Oh yeah. Is that would you track that to? The divorce or the people pleasing?
Who the fuck knows? I mean, I went to a lot of different schools, and I had to make friends quick, and maybe that's why I have good social skills. But I think that, I think often actors are terribly insecure, and I think it takes years to learn to kind of ask for what you need on a set
or to say
on the stage.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone. Let me do my thing, And I was in a scene with him in the car, and he's got to get angry at my character.
Right.
And they the camera department is trying to do the shot, and they keep sort of telling Gene Hackman to kind of go like, hey, Gene, can you move a little bit on the dashboard, He's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, we just want you think you could just come? He's like, guys, don't hem me in. Don't hem me in. Okay? Because, he's got to get emotional right there. He's got to yell at my character, and he's got to come from a real... And so I think he was protecting himself. And I don't think he was being an asshole.
Right. No, of course not.
He was just protecting, saying, hey, guys, I need to move around here.
Yeah.
This is not a technical scene,
Right.
Sometimes it's camera day, and sometimes it's actor day, and sometimes it's both.
Right.
And you
sure.
gotta...
So it's like, pull back, get your master. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw Jeffrey Wright do that, too, and it was beautiful. And it's like...
What'd you do with him?
I did this movie, Single Shot, and, you're doing scenes where you're like driving, and the camera department's like, can you just go down a little more? And you're like this? Yeah, just go down a little more. And you're like, hey, man, I can't drive the car like this, man. Enough already, So you do the best you can, and that DPs are amazing. I have complete respect for them, but
there is a moment where like they
you're like, come on, guys,
right, where they're not really thinking in terms of the practicality of what you have to achieve. They just want to cheat the shot. It's because your eye line's over here. It's like that doesn't make sense, and then you're looking over there and you're having a conversation that doesn't even exist in real life, but that's the magic of movie making.
Yeah. And this, you're doing the show.
Right.
And one of my pet peeves is like, nobody cares about the actor off camera.
Right.
Nobody gives a fuck about and I'm like, that's just as important to me.
Yeah.
As the actor off camera.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, there's something going on here in order to get something out of you.
Yeah, he's got to show up for me.
Yeah, we're doing something here.
Yeah.
I'm here for, Maya Rudolph or whoever.
Right.
And you're there for somebody.
Right.
And you're like, I'm not just trying to get right next to the fucking lens. I'm doing something here. I'm working too,
Yeah.
Anyway, I sound like I'm bitching or something.
No, you're not bitching. It's just like it's not all the time that I can talk to actors about acting, because a lot of times anyone's craft around it or how they got to where they are is not that defined. They learn some things when they're younger, and then they integrate some things, but they can't sit there and tell you what it is. Like, I just had Ethan Hawke in here, and one of the most astounding things that he said was that in order to do Training Day, he basically watched Denzel movies, because it was like he was watching game footage. Like he would.
That's how he prepared?
A little bit, not the character.
God, that sounds terrifying.
Not the character, but the sense that like he knew how Denzel handled the scene, and he knew that if he was going to own himself and his character, that he had to, he really had to show up and not, and be, right alongside Denzel, not let Denzel, push him down, you know what I mean?
Just
drive over him.
Yeah.
It was almost like he's preparing for a game. He's like watching game footage, like, see how he moved right there. You know what I mean?
That's smart. I wouldn't have the balls to. Ethan's very, very smart guy. I mean, that would make me nervous, but because I would start to get like hero worship or something.
Yeah, I get that too. I mean, I it's very hard for me and then the people pleasing just destroys you if you got the hero worship. You're like, well, what can I do?
That's bit me on the ass a couple times.
Really? Yeah. Working with big stars.
Yeah, you early on, you can't.
In films or TV?
In films, TV, and you kind of
like who?
Give over your
chi.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, I'd rather not say, but
okay.
I early on, I was definitely like, you can't be a fan
in the scene.
Yeah. You gotta kind of. But I like that Ethan was kind of strategically going, okay, this is what I gotta watch out for that pass and that thing.
A little bit.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, and it wasn't, he loves Denzel. Was no disrespect, but he just wanted to have his space. When you're with a dude that's like just a force of nature, you gotta, you know what I mean? You can
totally. And that paid off. I mean, Ethan's great in that. That's a great movie, and they're both great in it.
When you were in New York, would you start with theater?
I started in theater, and I just did a play in New York with Nina Arianda. We did a play on Broadway. We did This Fool for Love, and I continue to try to do theater. I've been. It's like going to the gym. It's like doing stand-up, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
You're not going to do that in film, so it's like working those muscles. And
right, there's no cut.
It's you, man. You got to go.
All the way through.
All the way through.
Hold it. You got to hold it.
I had to do a lasso, too. That was a lot of pressure, man. I'm glad that's over. Yeah, I had to fucking nail these objects with this lasso.
How long was the run?
And I had nightmares that, Ed Harris, the role was written for Ed Harris.
Uh-huh.
And he did it like 30 years ago.
I wonder how that guy's doing.
I think he's doing good. He's doing Westworld.
Is he?
You know?
A new remake of it?
Yeah,
He's
it's
doing
on
the Yul
HBO.
Brynner part?
I think he's doing the Yul Brynner part.
The robot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that, it's good
That's
casting,
good.
right?
Yeah.
He came to the play finally,
Yeah.
and he was very nice. He was very, and thank God I roped good that night because I had nightmares that he was in the audience every night in the roping scene. Because I'd heard all these stories about his performance. He did it 30 years ago
And nailed it every
Kathy
time.
Baker
Invented the roping scene.
Yeah, I said to Sam Shepard, "Did he ever miss?" He's like, "No."
No.
I'm like, really? He never missed? Come on.
Was it a Shepard play?
It's Sam Shepard play.
Which
Fool
one is
for
it?
Love.
Oh, Fool for Love is
And,
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember when that came out. It was a pretty stripped down thing for Sam. Like, it was like different than like, his sort of like verbose earlier plays where, it was very, two characters primarily.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Yeah, and there's these other characters. The guy Martin who comes in, and the old man is sort of like the dad, and Gordon Joseph Weiss and Tom Pelfrey did that. Nina Arianda and I are the two lovers. Right. And it turns out they're half brother and sister. It's very
there's always a dad in his plays that walks in and it brings the darkness.
Yeah, totally. No, it's a dark play, but
Did
it's
he
a cool
direct
play.
you in it?
No, Daniel Larkin, this British guy. He's a wonderful director. He directed it, and we had a lot of fun with it.
And Philip, what was your relationship with him?
Oh, Phil was a friend, and then he was an amazing director, and he taught me a lot about stage acting. But he was a dear friend, and obviously he was a kind of a mentor, even though we're about the same age.
Yeah,
we were about the same age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a lot from Phil.
Like what? Like when you're stage acting? Like
he really looked at it like an athletic event. I mean, he had wrestling background and
in high school.
Yeah, he kind of coached us like it was almost like a like a football game. It was
really?
like Hoosiers or something.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, but he would say incredible stuff to me and Eric. And we were doing the scene Judas and the Devil. It's called Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And he'd say, you guys are getting laughs, and I know we got some rewrites, and you're getting a lot of laughs. He's like, I don't give a fuck if you get laughs. I want to scare the audience a little bit, I want to make them nervous.
Right.
And so he had this attitude. He really wanted. You knew that he could talk the talk, but he could also walk the walk.
Yeah.
Because I saw him on stage in True West and Death of a Salesman.
I think
he was
I saw
a fucking
him in
monster.
True West. Yeah.
He's a fucking monster. He
Didn't
was
he
like
do-
George C. Scott. I mean, he was a monster.
Didn't he do True West where they would switch up?
Yeah, with John C. Reilly. Yeah,
they'd switch the roles up.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty insane, man.
Pretty insane.
Yeah, to do Lee and Austin and just to flip it.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah, but he could do it.
He could do it, and he demanded a lot of himself when he was on stage.
That's probably what exhausted him and made him so fragile.
Yeah.
Like he definitely had this sensitivity. Like he was very willing to go to those places that might break you in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's what made him special. I mean,
yeah,
he was one of a kind. Yeah.
And when you because I think you will make yourself available too, but you seem to like to do funny shit.
Yeah, I like to do funny shit. You kind of either you're funny or you're not funny. I guess I don't know, right?
I was just talking about the other day.
I mean, I don't try to be funny sometimes, and
Yeah,
people
you-
are, you're hilarious.
Right,
Like,
you're not-
actually, I was trying to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're a naturally funny guy.
I think people are just funny, or
Right,
whatever,
or they're
right?
not.
Or they're not.
Well, in my racket, when I watch, like I've seen comics who are not naturally funny by any stretch of the imagination figure out how to do stand up and learn the craft and be funny because they can only be funny in a certain way. The offstage.
I'm curious who you're talking about when you say that, like a Stephen Wright or somebody. Yeah.
Well, Stephen Wright's pretty funny because those kind of guys, they kind of invent their own time zone.
Yeah.
So like if you enter Stephen Wright land,
you're
going to be laughing because he's operating at a different frequency.
Yeah.
So that he figured that out for himself, and usually that's what it is. If you don't have a class clown personality, you're not like, hey, look at me, but you have some commitment to being funny. You got to figure out how to hold it, and be in it. And I've seen guys who, like, when I first see them, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then eventually they figure it out. You know what I mean? And it's a real testament to people who know they're funny. It's like, they don't get me yet, but I'm going to figure it out. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
It is cool. But I think it's probably the same with, coming into your own, as an actor. I mean, because people, like, when you say Sam Rockwell, people are like, oh, yeah, fucking Sam Rockwell. They're not like, who? Like, so, they know who you are because of your personality.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, even in Moon, which I fucking loved.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
That was some good work, dude.
I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah, I saw it, and I talked to Duncan on an
you talked to Duncan?
on an old show I had. Like, when I did Air America stuff, he came in, and I'd just seen it, and, you know, we talked, and he seemed like a sweet guy. Thoughtful guy.
Great guy. Very talented. You talked to Lynn Shelton, too.
Oh, yeah, she says hi, by the way.
Yeah, Lynn's awesome.
Great director.
Yeah, great director. We had a great time.
And a great sense of comedy.
Absolutely. No, she's fantastic, man. No, I've been really lucky. Moon was really a brain fuck, but it was fun.
How do you prepare for something like that when you know you're going to be this guy in space alone? I mean,
we bit a lot of stuff off of Dead Ringers with Jeremy Irons, and I watched.
That's one of those off to the side movies.
Yeah, and that was the best time I've seen that trick done when he played twins.
Yeah,
and my acting coach told me to watch Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah, for what reason?
That was helpful. Well, one of the clones is sick too, so I kind of stole my sickness from Dustin Hoffman from Ratso. Yeah, and I tried to actually duplicate a shot, and where where John Voight's combing Ratso's
on
hair.
The bus.
It's on a stairwell.
Oh,
the party.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I said to the technical guys, can we have the clones touch? And they're like, oh, that's very difficult to get the clones to touch. It takes a lot of. And I was like, well, let's do it, man. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
One of them's sick, and let's replicate this little shot with Midnight. And they're like, well, this is gonna, and it was very technical. If the clones.
And he pulled it off.
We did it. Briefly.
Yeah.
And there's like a C-stand with a tennis ball, and you got to have somebody else's hand, or it's very technical stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't think people really appreciate about acting. Is like you just spent like 12 hours on that.
Yeah. And you're trying to make a really naturalistic moment, and it's very technical.
That's the job.
Yeah, that's the job. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Very awkward. Yeah, and they don't understand that. Yeah, you're losing the light, and whatever. And you're like trying to. Yeah.
When we were shooting my show, there's something like I want to see. I'm just going to put it out in the world. Maybe someone will make it. Because when you're shooting in L.A. in real time, not in a studio, it's like playing. The sound guy's always like playing, and you got to wait it out. I just want to see like a short film piece where the sound guy, you're on set. Yeah. And the sound guy's like playing, and then you hear it crash. And the sound guy goes, okay, we're clear.
There is a movie for that, like Living in Oblivion or something. There's a place for that moment.
What the hell's that guy's name who did that movie? That guy,
Tom DiCillo. Yeah, I worked with Tom DiCillo.
All right, so where does it really start to when you start to? Because it feels like to me the first time you really entered the consciousness was with the Chuck Barris movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, Tom DiCillo and I did a movie called Box of Moonlight that got some notoriety, and then I started working after that. And I did a couple movies, Lawn Dogs, Safe Man, and then
Safe Man, yeah,
Safe Man's a cool movie. Peter Dinklage, and Mark Ruffalo, and Steve Zahn, and then it kind of started. And then by the time I did Confessions, I'd done a lot of movies, but I hadn't done anything that people had really seen. Although the indie scene was different back then,
Yeah, how so? Smaller, a little more.
Yeah, I mean, people were actually going to movies, and now the indie scene's kind of gone to cable a little bit.
Yeah,
there's not really like.
How do you feel about about where the business is at movie wise? I mean, are you a fan of going to the movies?
I am a fan of going to the movies, and it's a little depressing, but it's also what's happening, know. And I don't get to movies as much as I'd like to. I mean, it's what's happening. You kind of have to
roll with it.
Yeah, and they do have these amazing shows now. So it's kind of the reality,
But you're living in New York, and your mom's there still. Is she still around?
She's still there. She's a painter, and I got a place
real artist mom.
Yeah, she's
bohemian spirit.
Yeah.
And she's there. So you're hanging out when you first go to New York. How old were you when you start studying with Esper?
I was about 24.
And you wanted to do method?
I wanted to have a technique, but I was kind of, I didn't take it seriously. And he said, you should really study, know what you're doing.
But he's like one of the guys.
He's one of the guys.
Yeah, and I've talked to other people who study with Esper.
One of his, Meisner's main proteges.
So let's go from there to there. So you're doing Meisner.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot of, I don't know too much about the group theater and shit, but I know that Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, and Lee Strasberg went to Russia and met this guy Stanislavski, and then they came back and they created their own schools, and there was like 3 schools, and Brando studied with Stella Adler and all that. And Duvall, I think, went with Meisner, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So you liked Brando, you liked De Niro, you liked those guys.
Yeah, those were the guys you looked up to. So
right.
It's all the same shit.
Right.
It's all good acting is good acting.
Right.
I think.
But what was the craft you get to put in place when you work with someone like Esper? Like outside of Meisner exercises, you're not doing like fencing or Alexander.
No, that's right. It's not a conservatory. It's not like Juilliard. You're right. It's not RADA. So I think it just taught. Really, the big thing was your emotional responsibility to the text, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like you have a responsibility to the text, to the play, to the film, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have a responsibility to bring behavior to this text, to respect it and also disrespect it.
Right.
To be like, the text means nothing.
Yeah.
It's about this.
Right, about me and you.
And so I think that's the main thing I got.
And here's the trick that like always baffles me, because I'm not really much of an actor. I've done my TV show, but like, how do you fucking... I guess I'm just asking for some training.
I think you're doing just fine.
Thanks. No, but how do you, like, when you shoot things where you're doing a scene and then, that scene happens and then you got to do the scene that
out
happens.
Of continuity type thing?
Yeah, it happens earlier that day. And like
you're right. That's totally fucked up. I totally,
Where you're like,
some people they write it out on fucking paper. They're really organized.
Like, this is where you need to be more tired.
Yeah.
Dude, you remember you've had 2 drinks here.
It's always good to go back and look at the script and you look at your notes that you did 2 months ago and go, okay, oh yeah, I'm coming from there, and then just close. Or I listen to my lines, so I get that rehearsal app, but it's always good to go back. Just when you think, oh, I've looked at the script enough. You've never really looked at it
because it's even funny, watching like the movie I watched last night, Mr. Right. When you say I got to go and you go outside and you beat the shit out of that guy. And am I going to spoil anything?
No, you're saying you shot the interior,
right? But then you got to come back in and you're sweaty and you got so you just
exactly.
All right, I just killed a guy. I'm going to go back in and act like everything's fine. Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes that's just jumping jacks, or whatever,
Oh, you do that?
Or like, or like some bullshit like that, or
get a little winded.
Hey, can I get some spritz? Or,
yeah.
I like to run around the building and stuff, but sometimes you just hold your breath.
Right.
Right, and so that's enough. If you don't, you might not be able to move.
Yeah, right.
So you got to hold your breath or something. Yeah.
So I guess like playing somebody like Chuck Barris, did you because that movie's a very interesting movie. It's an interesting book, and you don't even know what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And Clooney decides to make a fucking movie out of it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And did he just approach you and go like, "You're the guy. I think you're the guy for that"?
Yeah. Well, Charlie Kaufman wrote this incredible script,
I talked to him.
Yes, I know.
Right, that was trippy.
And he's a trippy
a lot of levels,
genius.
Dude. A lot of levels.
Yeah, the guy's amazing.
Brain's always going. Whatever's going on right here, he's working big problems.
He's only got a landline. Did you know that?
That makes sense.
Of
course. Why wouldn't he? Why be distracted with that garbage?
Exactly.
I want to like those guys who respect their mind enough to know that everything is a distraction. Is just going to rob us of our fucking brain. Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
I got to check my text.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a nightmare, dude. It's a nightmare. And the only good thing is you can listen to like a podcast or something, or look up some art shit, or look, you got a picture or whatever. Even that's obnoxious. But but Clooney really got me that part. He fought for me to get that part, and it wasn't. They didn't want me to play that part.
No,
they wanted. I think they wanted Ben Stiller, and we screen tested, and then it was. They did not want me for the part.
It's funny because I think that like you and Clooney probably got along great. You seem like similar spirits in some way.
Yeah, I really had a good time with him.
He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy.
He's one of these weird, classy movie stars that kind of can do everything, and you're sort of like, there's got to be a flaw somewhere. Like well, that's just the way I think. It's like that guy can't be as perfect as he seems.
Everybody's got something,
sure,
but he's pretty awesome. He's like Tom Hanks, he's one of those guys,
And that was his first film directing job. So did you feel like you guys were learning together?
Absolutely, he was getting after it. I mean, he was doing his homework.
Oh yeah,
he got after it. We did these incredible Warner shots. I mean, he did an amazing job with that movie.
Oh yeah.
He did an amazing job.
It's a great movie.
He didn't really get the credit till later, like 10 years later.
Did you go meet with Chuck?
Yeah, I hung out with Chuck. I filmed Chuck. I spent a lot of time with Chuck. A lot. I filmed him. I had him tape my lines.
Yeah,
I was all over Chuck. Chuck and I hung out a lot.
Did he not Was it true? Did he believe it was true?
He did. He did, and I didn't really want to know if it was true or not. So I just tried to believe that it was true, and I was just doing, I was doing 3 Days of the Condor or Serpico. I didn't want to know what was going on,
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to see Chuck. I think he moved to Paris. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him in years,
I grew up with the Gong Show on TV, and he was just this guy, hey,
he would squint. The reason he would squint is because he didn't have his glasses and he was looking at the cue cards, People thought he was stoned.
Yeah.
And
he was a character, man.
He was a character, man. He created a lot of reality TV, The Dating Game. And,
yeah. Those weird game shows. Those were showcases for stand-ups.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that till much later. That you'd see all these comics on. Of course they book comics.
Do bits, stuff. Yeah. Yeah. No, I watched a lot of Gong shows. Yeah.
I auditioned for the Dating Game in its later manifestation when I was out here in the late '80s. Like I was all fucked up on drugs and shit, and I didn't have the confidence for it. That was back when I was hanging out with Kennison and shit, or maybe even before.
How do you audition for the Dating Game?
They had segment producers at the time, so they would have regular people, but then they'd want people who, had comic chops or something. So you'd go do a fake dating game, and see if they want to put you on the real show.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
That's it. That's the audition.
I was so squirmy. For a guy who spends a lot of time on stage, at the beginning, I'm not sure. I think I was just doing it for self-destructive reasons. I don't want the adulation at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was just sort of like, what the fuck do you want from me? Yeah, that was my angle. Why'd you make me come here?
To get exposure? You got talked into it to get exposure or something?
What, the dating game?
Yeah.
No, I think it was a chick, actually. She was booking it, and I think, we had a thing for a minute, and... And then, and then I went to her house, and all I remember was like a lot of dirty dishes and bugs, and and then she was a producer on the Dating Game. She asked me if I wanted to do it. I'm like, all right, it didn't work out, and I don't know what happened there.
That's awesome.
You have those stories. You get to a certain age, and you spend time in and out of this town or in this business where you're like, oh yeah, shit, that did happen.
Yeah.
You have some of those?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Thank God there was no social media then.
Absolutely. No, God almighty. Some of the shit, Some of the shit I did,
when things were fun?
Forget about it, man.
When things were fun?
Yeah.
So what about like all the stuff that you did on television, leading up to the movies? I mean, some of that shit's pretty real and pretty, like a good training ground, right? You did some of those procedurals and stuff.
Yeah, like on TV, Law and Order and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. That was really, all that was a good training ground.
And that's booked out in New York, right, mostly?
Yeah, that's when, the New York actors were getting jobs on those shows, and now it's switched to like Boardwalk Empire and this new Vinyl.
Yeah.
You see a lot of New York actors getting jobs there.
Right. Yeah.
It's all, it was network and indies, and now it's cable But it was a good way to make a living and get some training.
Working actor.
Yeah, and you as a guest, you always come on with like way too much energy.
Right.
And the regulars are like falling asleep.
Yeah,
they're like, and you're like coming in, you're jazzed.
Yeah. You worked all week on your five
ready,
lines.
Yeah, you're ready to cry and shit. And they're like lunch. You gotta be like, okay, let's take it down, Rockwell. Let's take it down. A little too much acting,
We're just trying to make our day.
Yeah, they just want to get finished.
Oh,
you're trying to win an Emmy.
Yeah, I had that horrible realization when I used to do Conan a lot. Where I do, I
do stand up on Conan.
Do stand up or panel, do the thing. Mm-hmm. But I'd get there and we'd go out and I'd get out there and we'd do our thing and the audience.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment afterwards. They're like, "Oh, where are we going now?" And they're like, "What do you mean? It's our job. We did the same thing yesterday. Who are you?" Well, they're not rude about it, but
you're like, "This is cool, man."
Right. There's that realization, like, "Oh my God, they do this every day." I'm just, it's a job in a way, but it's show business. That's the sad part about show business.
I know, but it's cool to be overeager and it's actually cooler sometimes.
Well, right, but like when you're on set and you're just sort of hanging out, like a lot of people talk about how much downtime there is on set.
Yeah,
like It doesn't bother me. Initially, it's sort of like, you go to your trailer and you're like, no, what the fuck am I going to do? Am I going to jerk off? Am I going to read a book? You know? And then you start to realize, like,
I'd be done if I jerked off. That would be no acting would be happening that day.
Where's Rockwell? What happened to your energy? I left it in a Kleenex in the trailer.
Oh, totally. Forget it, man. No, that is. How do you manage that time? It's. I don't like that time at all. I mean, that's why I try to.
You just gotta get out of your trailer, take a walk, sit in the chair outside. I'll just go sit, on the set and just watch people do set up things. Try not to get in the way of the gaffer, the lighting guy. What you got there? It's like, we're working. Oh, okay.
I know. That's when you wish smoking was good for you.
Oh yeah,
smoking. I love smoking on sets.
But do you have an appreciation for because your dad was a union guy for the union guys? I mean, it's
absolutely. I'm always very aware of the unions. So people hate unions. They're like, oh, the Teamsters, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm the unions. I grew up to love unions.
Yeah, and they're all sort of there's this whole sort of tier of employment on a set. You get you got your craft services guy where you where'd they come from? How they get the gig. Sometimes there's a craft service person that's a little too ambitious and walking around with a tray, and you're like, I don't know, did you invent this? What is this? But then there's the one that levels up, and then you got your union guys, and then you got the actors. It's just and the producer. It's kind of amazing.
It is an amazing thing.
Yeah,
and it's a dictatorship.
Yeah.
It's not a democracy. I think that people don't always understand.
Well, you just hope that you have a somewhat benevolent dictator, like that. And you've worked with a lot of directors.
Yeah, like a Clooney or somebody who's nice. Yeah, right. Hopefully you have somebody nice, because it's not a democracy. Somebody's boss.
Yeah. Did you work with Woody Allen?
I did a little movie with one. I mean, I did a little part in Celebrity.
Yeah.
Which is the movie he did with DiCaprio, and I had all these scenes with DiCaprio, and
you guys friends?
We're friendly. We know each other, but we're not we don't hang out.
What do you think of The Revenant?
I love The Revenant. I mean, I thought it was like Jeremiah Johnson on steroids.
I love Jeremiah Johnson.
I mean, I thought it was fucking amazing. Yeah. I thought The Revenant was
I
was like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, I mean,
a pretty sweet guy, like a pretty level guy.
He's very smart. That guy. I was impressed with him when he was working with Woody Allen. He was very because I was very nervous around Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And he was like. I mean, he was a kid, you know? And he was like, I think it should be this way, and I'm like, that's Woody, dude. And he was really self-confident. I admired that. I learned a lot from that.
But Woody kind of wants that, right? He just wants you to do your job, right?
Yeah, DiCaprio actually had this I had a scene in a jacuzzi, and we had prostitutes, and it was supposed to be very Caligula, decadent and cocaine, and DiCaprio said, you should have a drumstick or something, like a Roman.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. How do I get a drum? He's like, Woody will go for that? He's like, yeah, fuck it, just get a drumstick. So we couldn't find a drumstick. Let's talk to props first.
Yeah.
Before we present the idea.
Yeah.
And they had a lamb shank.
Yeah.
And we brought it to Woody. I said, and DiCaprio kind of helped me go there.
Right.
And he said, Sam's got this idea. He made it seem like it was my idea, And Woody was like, do you really want to, maybe you shouldn't eat that, though. Maybe you should pretend to eat it. I can't do Woody, and so I put some grapes in my mouth and I pretended. But
it worked.
Yeah, anyway, it's just, I don't know what the point of that story is, but he's working
with Woody.
Yeah.
And
DiCaprio. Very, very nice guy.
I like that you like Jeremiah Johnson, because I actually had this weird thought before you came over.
I'm a nerd for the 70s. We could talk about that for an hour.
But I had this idea that you should do a remake of Butch and Sundance, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Man, I'd love to do that.
And you should play the Redford part, right? What do you think?
I mean, I'd play either part.
Either part I think you could play. I just like that you do these parts where you can really kind of, even in Hitchhiker's Guide, where you're just sort of it's almost like a rock star weirdo, Like what?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that shit, man.
Yeah, I love that shit too.
You like getting big and funny and weird.
I really wanted that to be like a franchise. I think I said
the
that
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, and it's But that was a fun character. Yeah.
I think I got the idea in my head that do you choose have you said no to huge opportunities?
I've said no to money. I've said no to money.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I turned down the Titanic or something. I've turned down every time I've done stuff for money. I've regretted it.
Yeah.
I don't really just for the money. I mean,
right.
Money's part of the equation.
Sure. Sure.
But
you want to feel like you're earning an honest living.
Yeah. It's hard to make money in showbiz, but when you get a chance to, it's good. But it's like, I've turned down some money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but not just because of the money, because the project, they're obviously offering you a lot of money.
No, I want the money, obviously.
Sure, but like, I'm not going to do that for the money.
Yeah, you know, there's limits, you know, and you're like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
But you're always working, right?
I'm always working. I'm fine. I make a good living. I'm comfortable, and I'm happy just making a good living.
Would you do a cool TV series?
I would do something like a True Detective, like a 10-part thing.
Yeah,
I'm a little spoiled from the movie world, and I like to see my lines in advance, and they do a lot of rewrites on those shows, and I don't know if I would do well with that. I've done a little bit of that on Iron Man 2 with rewrites, and
so that's different than like improvising. You really have Justin Theroux?
Justin Theroux, who's wrote this great script, and they had him, you know, we were doing rewrites and
day of shit?
Yeah, you know, and because if it wasn't for him and Favreau, I wouldn't have got through that thing, you know, because there were a lot of rewrites. Same thing, Charlie's Angels, and so, you know, I had to wear an earwig. With this gun scene with Don Cheadle, and you know, you don't want to do that or look at cue cards. So I think that's the main thing is I'd want to just. And maybe that's me being spoiled and wanting to prepare, but
when you prepare, when you say, because I know like what I learned is a lot of it hinges on choices. For you know, like I know there's the method element of it is being present, but then you sort of have to like I talked to a guy yesterday, this comic who does TV acting a bit, and he says he'll look at a line and he'll see where the laugh is, and then he'll start taking apart the line, thinking like, well, I can maximize the laughs. I can get 4 laughs out of this line where there's one written. Do you make choices like that?
No, I try to not. Even though I know where the laughs are sometimes, and I see that instinctively. Yeah. And maybe unconsciously you're going for a laugh, but I think that's a danger. There's a real danger there.
Sure. You know. But what about just even if it's not laugh, even if for emotional impact, do you make those kind of decisions?
Yes, I mean, you know, the danger is when you're asking to pass the salt. Yeah. And you know you can get a laugh there. I mean, sometimes you just got to ask, you know, can you pass the salt?
Right.
And not go for the laugh.
Of course, of course.
But I think I like to stew and shit a little bit. Stew with the part a little bit. And you don't always have that luxury. That's a luxury now, you know?
Yeah.
But if you can get, you know, a couple months to prepare, I mean, you know, there's a reason Daniel Day-Lewis is so good. Yeah. You know, he prepared for a year. For the Lincoln thing, you know, he told Tony Kushner, I think he was allowed to say no more rewrites, you know, because he has that clout. Right. You know, and he's fucking great in that part. Right. Because he prepared for...
And he does one movie a decade.
Yeah, you know, and me and Nina ran lines for a year for Fool for Love, and me and Nina Arianda, and we did good work because we had a year, you know. Yeah. If you have a year or 2 months, and that's a luxury, and people don't get that, but... Yeah, it should be more like that than it is.
That's true. Yeah,
but it's you know, it's not that way.
Yeah, but not in movies where you're like we gotta get this done by today.
That's why you got to prepare ahead of time. You know,
because that's the extra work.
You know, but anyway.
But when you did this role, let's talk as we wrap it up about Mr. Right, because your performance and your relationship with Anna Kendrick is great. And this, I imagine you look at this guy and you're like, well, this is a guy that used to kill people and he really doesn't want to do it anymore. So, like, I could see how that could be sort of characterologically a meaty thing to sort of work on. Like, you know, this is, you know, you're presenting yourself in a very, you know, flat tone about what you're doing, but you're telling the truth, but it comes off as jokes. But there's part of you that's really wrestling with the morality of the thing.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a book I read about psychopaths. For 7 Psychopaths, actually. I think some of the homework.
John Ronson's book?
Yeah, is that the psychopath, the British guy, right?
The Psychopath Test.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. He's a great guy.
That book was really helpful.
He's funny.
For 7 Psychopaths, which is a Martin McDonagh movie. And I think maybe some of that helped. But really, I mean, a lot of the homework was just, I mean, like movies like, I mean, literally like Romancing the Stone or Grosse Pointe Blank, I think. Yeah. Having that kind of
tone,
you know, and because we got Anna, we were really lucky because she could do that, you know. It's a particular thing.
Well, I think I love what you do, and I love your presence, and you do great work.
Vice versa, dude.
And I'm glad we got to talk.
Yeah, man.
And good luck with the talk today. You're gonna be sitting with Aisha.
Yes, that's right.
Who you went to high school with.
Yes, we did. We